For me, gardening is all about invigorating the senses. Touching, smelling, feeling, listening, and better still, tasting. Tonight, how an interactive garden can make you smile.
The job I've got, it's the best job in the world.
A community united by the power of plants. And when you arrive, you can't help but feel that this place is buzzing. And how to reduce your environmental footprint at the Backyard Revolution. Oh, guys, you're here. It's time for our compost masterclass. Our perspective on the world tends to be so black and white. But who said we can't mix it up a bit with some colour? Throw the balls in the air. Look at things from a distance. Splash of colour here, some texture. Bounce the light around. It's all about creating fun in the garden. And walking through the gates of this special place makes you want to smile. It's called the Kevin Hines Garden Centre, and for over 30 years has given people with disabilities the chance to come here regularly and experience the healing powers of getting into a garden. What's your name?
I'm Derek.
Hello, Derek.
Yes.
How are you going?
I'm good.
What are you up to today?
We're planting some plants.
The late Kevin Hines was a horticulturalist and TV gardening identity who believed that everyone, and especially people with disabilities, should have a garden and get their hands in the dirt.
Gardening is one of the fundamental things that helps people feel connected. It helps them connect with each other. It also generates a sense of hope, because if you're a gardener, if you're in a garden and you're creating a garden, you're clearly looking to the future. So you have a sense of your own future and you have a sense of yourself in that space as well. So we find that if people are coming here to garden or to be with other people who are gardening, then they're part of that feeling of hope, and they're part of that sense of renewal, and they're part of that sense of regeneration. And they're also part of getting their hands dirty and into the earth and connecting themselves back with the ground, which is what we feel strongly about here, giving everybody the opportunity to get connected to the earth again.
The centre consists of a range of different facilities. There are touch gardens, streams and ponds, a potting shed, art spaces, and of course traditional veggie beds. All designed to engage the mind and stimulate the senses.
So the garden can be a place to experience and to join in with other people and to have a shared sense of community with other people and a shared sense of ownership.
Sean has been coming to these gardens for over 10 years. His veggie plots are thriving, and the gardens play a major positive role in his everyday life. How do you think the plants feel when they get a water?
So good. Feels so good. So good. So good. So good.
James Brown.
60s.
Tim Bear has been a carer at the gardens for 18 years and knows firsthand the benefit that it brings.
Sean is very good, and he loves the gardening. You know, when he comes here, he does a whole range of things. You know, talked about weeding, talked about transferring plants, talked about this. He's getting a whole experience. And what he then does, he goes home, he mows the lawn, he looks after the home with his dad. So the benefits there he's taking out to everyday life.
Coming here sure makes you realise that connecting people to the soil and plants through a tactile garden like this truly does stimulate the mind, body and spirit. Scrunch that one up and have a smell. Tell me what it smells like.
Lemon.
Yes. But this is something you don't have to come here to experience. When planting out your own backyard, take a leaf out of this fabulous garden and make it a feast for all the senses. Derek, try this one. Tell me what that tastes like.
Smells like onion.
Yeah, I got a few here.
Here in the potting shed, support worker Lindy helps gardeners to prepare a variety of plants which will later be sold to the public in the centre nursery. Great to meet you all.
Years ago, these people would have been in an institution and never seen by the public, never wanted to be. These days, the more we can get out the public, the better off it is. These guys are very rarely back at their day services place. We're always out and about.
How does it feel like to be changing that?
The job I've got, it's the best job in the world. It is the best job in the world. This is the greatest thing to do ever. These people are the most honest people you'd ever want to meet. And they're the most loving people you'd ever want to meet, and we're all great mates, and I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather do. Yeah. They're great. They're fantastic. I get all emotional. No, they're fantastic, yeah.
18-year-old Lee is one of the centre's best gardeners and a tribute to how this place can help people's lives.
Costa, come to see my garden.
Is this your garden here?
Yes.
Oh, show me around. What's in here?
Plants, of course.
Lee exemplifies what this garden is all about. Having come here for 4 years, he's just finished high school and is about to get a job in a nursery. Is this your last year of school?
Yes.
Do you want to do another year at school?
No.
What do you want to do?
Earn some money. Live my own life. And that's all.
Spending time with someone like Lee here in the garden, it brings it all back down to the ground. He has simple goals. All he wants to do is get out into the real world just like all of us. He wants acceptance, he wants opportunity, and he just wants his freedom. And this garden and these programs have given him the start. Across town from the Kevin Hines Garden is the Maidstone Community Centre, another place keen to use the stimulating powers of gardening to bring positive benefits to the neighbourhood. I'm here at Maidstone in the western suburbs of Melbourne, about 9 kilometres from the city. And we're at the community centre, which has this wonderful garden. And when you arrive, you can't help but feel that this place is buzzing. The structure of the garden's here, but like any garden, it's become a bit overgrown. The community centre here caters to over 8,000 people a month from 20 different ethnic groups, providing services ranging from cooking and language classes right through to migrant and senior citizen support. I've got a team here today of the local community, and they're going to breathe life back into this garden. We're going to give it a subcontinental flavour, we're going to invigorate the garden beds, plant lots of new things, and generally be together, get our hands in the dirt and have a good time. Who's up for it? Yay! Local permaculture expert Scott Hitchens is here to coordinate proceedings and to make sure that once it's up and running, the garden's going to thrive. What's the plan?
Well, the idea is to get rid of all these weeds first. This used to be a terrific herb garden. There's paths all through here that everyone's standing on at the moment. Most of the weeds are actually edible stuff anyway, so we'll sort through them as we go. We've got some new stuff to plant into the garden. And then we've got the other side over there that gets a bit more shade. We're going to put in a few of the shade-loving stuff like strawberries and things over on that side.
OK.
And when we finish it, it'll be a great community asset again.
When doing work like this, if you're unsure about what is a weed and what isn't, simply scrunch up a leaf or a flower, don't eat it, but smell it. If it smells like it might be edible, leave it in. If you're unsure, take a cutting to a nursery for identification. See that one? That's a weed. You can pull that one out, pull that one out. Yeah, grab it at the bottom. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Gardens like this can play a critical role within a community, bringing people together that could easily be living worlds apart. Sada is originally from Ethiopia and has been living in Australia for 7 years.
My family has been living in refugee camp in Kenya, and yeah, but I came to Australia because I married another refugee person who was successful through UNHCR to come to Australia, so we came together.
Although she works here at the centre in administration, Sada's more than happy to come back here during her time off to get her hands into the good stuff.
Kind of bring people together, yeah. And you don't have to talk about your culture or anything, but come do gardening and you just talk, yeah. Yeah, so it's good.
Can you hear that? Can you just hear the exchange, the communication? The kids are happy, people are talking, they're learning, they're sharing information. It's just a great place to be. Still to come, bringing the taste of the tropics to Maidstone Community Garden. What we're trying to achieve here is a little bit of the subcontinent in the community centre. And 1,000 helpful visitors join the backyard revolution. They're little pets living in their own garden beds. Here at the Maidstone Community Centre, I'm helping a group of volunteers and we're halfway through breathing life back into an amazing edible garden. My next job is to build a garden bed that you could easily try at home. There's quite a few rectangular, sharp edges in the garden, so what they want to do is create a nice circular garden. It's simple. My old mate Pythagoras told me, get a diameter. So belt a peg in like this, that's an old broom handle, piece of string, and keep it tight and mark the ground as you go, like that. It's quite low tech. We're not putting footings or anything. We're just setting it out, laying the bricks around the edge, filling it up with strawberries, and that'll be it. A nice circular garden to complement the rectangles. The existing bricks are going to be reused, but before putting them in place, we need to level out the area and clearly define the circle, so we know exactly where to put them. At the moment, I'm just doing my rough set out and getting my rough levels, which means taking away the high points and the low points. I'll cut out the circle shape, then I'll mark it again in a second, and we'll be able to see exactly where we're going to place our bricks. And my chief executive's coming in to give me a hand. Good boy. While the rest of us are busy outside getting our hands dirty, others inside are preparing what's about to become a lasting symbol of the garden's ability to transcend cultural boundaries. A 4-metre-long mural showing all the garden's key herbs with their names written in both English and Vietnamese. Back at our strawberry bed, and the bricks are being laid. Make sure they're all placed evenly as you go, and that they fall gently inwards to funnel rain onto the garden. Nairi, Will and Angela are busy putting some soil in between the bricks. That'll stabilise them and lock the circle in. With garden beds like this, I always say don't be afraid to just give it a go. Because we're only using recycled bricks and dirt to hold it all together, if you make a mistake, it's easy to fix. And at the very worst, all you're going to lose is a bit of time. Having been a garden bed before, this soil has quite a bit of organic matter in it. As you can see, it holds together nicely, but then it breaks up. There's quite a bit of sand, which is perfect for the strawberries because they like free drainage. The little bit of compost we've put in is just helping it to hold the moisture. Lastly, lay on some mulch to help keep in the moisture. And within a few months, this new addition will be bursting with juicy, ripe fruit.
There you go, buddy.
Cold climate or Mediterranean-style plants don't pose a problem in a climate like Melbourne's. But if you're going to go for anything tropical, you have to utilise or create microclimates within your garden. This is a corner of the garden that I'm quite excited about because what we're trying to achieve here is a little bit of the subcontinent in the community centre. And the way we can get these subcontinental plants to grow here is to utilise this corner of the garden. We're protected from any winds by the building, but it catches all the northern sun, so it creates a warm little pocket. So something like the curry plant, the cardamom and these chilies will be able to survive over the long winter and flourish in the summer. Suddenly, a little corner of the community centre has got a subtropical feel to it. Finally, to remind everyone that something as simple as a garden has the power to unite, the finished mural will take pride of place, identifying herbs but symbolising something far more important. From this morning to this afternoon, the community here have come together and have transformed this space from an overgrown jungle into what is now a feast for the senses. We've built a strawberry patch, found paths that we didn't even know were there, and used a microclimate to plant a subtropical garden in Melbourne. All of it growing where it should be, and all of it edible, so that the community can reap the rewards of all their labour.
According to the Buddhist philosophy, we should live harmonious with other life form around us, our environment, our natures, the beautiful fauna and flora we have around us.
The ancient religion of Buddhism has been preaching the virtues of a natural and harmonious existence for over 2,500 years. And here at the Maribyrnong Valley west of Melbourne, a passionate monk is turning the Quang Minh Vietnamese Buddhist temple into an inspiring model of environmental sustainability.
The Buddha had taught about our gratitude toward parents, friends and teachers, to society and country, but the most important is also the environment.
Buddhists believe that it is their responsibility to help care for those less fortunate around them, and so every week they provide here a free banquet for hundreds of locals.
Very fresh vegetable milk, vegetarian, pure vegetarian.
All this free tucker used to create 4,000 litres of green waste a week, or about 35 standard wheelie bins that went straight to landfill.
This commercial worm farm is 20,000 litres, and it will break down all these green waste within days.
The Quang Minh worm farm works just like a worm farm at home, only on an industrial scale. Veggie scraps and green waste are processed with filtered grey water from the kitchens. Once the worms have done their work, the leftover nutrient-rich liquid is mixed with the worm castings and then put back into nature, spread around the temple gardens and the surrounding valley.
We are just one life out of many other life forms. The quality of our life depends also the quality of life around us. So our environment is very important to our very, very quality of life. So protecting the environment means also protecting our life.
After the break, it's not just Buddhists who are reducing their landfill, as we show you how a simple worm farm and compost system can make your house greener at our backyard revolution. I got my team here. They're keen as mustard to give me a hand. So what do you reckon, guys? We get started?
Yes!
For the past 5 weeks, I've been on an odyssey to turn this typical backyard in the suburbs into the garden that I believe every Aussie home should have. The Tembaleskis are a big family, with 4 young boys and a baby sister. On a single day, they can produce up to 2.5 kilos of green waste. And it's part of my plan here to turn what's previously been going to waste into a useful resource that'll help this garden thrive. This week on the Backyard Revolution, we're going to set up both a composting system and a worm farming system so that we can start to deal with the waste generated by the Tembaleschi family. First step is to set up this worm cafe. And it looks, guys, how you going? I got my team here. They're keen as mustard to give me a hand. So what do you reckon, guys? We get started?
Yeah!
Worm farms are a great way to dramatically speed up your composting process. When you're setting your worm farm up from scratch, there's a few basic steps that'll help you to get the best results. OK, Yanni. First up, you need to build a home or base layer for your worms to live in while they get established. This is simply some compost or potting mix and a thick layer of special core fibre or bedding mix. Composting worms are a little different to the ones you'd normally find in your garden. They love the rich environment of a compost heap, but have to be kept moist in order to thrive. Now you can get a can of worms like this, 1,000 worms at your local hardware store or nursery, and that will get a system like this going in a few weeks. Add on the second tray with a little more compost and some food scraps, and you're in business. After that, look at this. It's just like bedtime. We put the blanket over the top.
Good night, worms.
A few weeks ago in the Revolution, I set up 3 amazing new water-efficient wicking garden beds that water plants from below, not above.
Hey, Costa, the water's coming.
Oh, fantastic. Well, today, I'm going to take these up a notch and show you how to set up a worm farm, not just next to your veggie patch, but in it. This here is a mini worm farm that's going to go into each of the wicking beds. The purpose of the holes is simply to let moisture and worms pass freely in and out. Like our worm farm, this serves the same purpose. We put this down into the garden bed and put some compost and our food scraps in there with some worms. Then the worms can move freely in and out through the holes. Best of all, it's another place that we can deal with all of the Tembaleschi's kitchen waste. Because the Tembaleschi's are a big family producing heaps of food scraps, I'm also going to help them set up a composting system. Oh, guys, you're here. It's time for our compost masterclass.
Oh, cool.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's about 6 steps we need to do to make a good compost. All right? So we've got our little compost bin.
Yep.
First thing to do is we get some dried leaves and twigs, the kind of stuff that you can just collect off the grass. It's vital to get your composting system off to a good start. And it's a bit like baking a cake. You need all the right ingredients in the right proportions. First of all, put in a thick base of leaves, some broken down green waste, plain healthy garden soil, chicken poo or pellets, and a good spray of water. Your compost will have all the nutrients it needs to begin breaking down your food scraps. Finally, give your compost a good stir once a week to add some oxygen, and always cover with wet newspaper or a wet hessian sack. If you'd like to find out more specific information, you'll find all you need to know on the web at sbs.com.au/Costa. That's it for the Odyssey. Hope you've had as much fun as we've had. Did you have a good time?
Yes.
All right, there's one last thing to do.
Put the lid on.
Next week on the Odyssey.
Take it away, Victor!
An organic soil brother from Orange. The secrets of the perfect sustainable drop.
Oh, smell that.
Oh, that's rich.
Yeah.
And the Waldorf Astoria of chicken coops. We're going to build a new playground, not for the kids, but for the new residents that will be taking up this space shortly.